Yeah.
How'd you guys do? Less awkward than you thought?
Yeah, I think if you do a clinical case, yeah.
Oh.
I mean, well, like, we're friends, and I could tell her a personal story, but I'm thinking, like, my guy, you know, if you say, what's 10 out of 10, what's your year look like, you know, he sits there, and then
Yeah.
he's gonna tell me, you know. Yeah.
Yeah. So I think it's a smart idea then. Like, you know your audience, you know, and if maybe he'll surprise you. Maybe he'll come out with something else.
Yeah,
but
I mean, and we've gotten to know each other, and yeah, I think now we go sometimes to Natural History Museum because you can get in free.
cool.
Lunch, and it's quick there. Like once we went to the art museum, like once, you know, I've taken them out. Yeah. So the Natural
That's a
History
great
Museum
idea.
is a quick. They have like prepared stuff, and it works for both of us.
Great idea.
Yeah.
Yeah, I totally agree. Out of your office. Yeah.
Our first meeting, we walked around the lagoon, and it was really nice. We just took a walk. Because
Yeah.
it broke the tension of having to, like, face each other. And then we've been in the office after that, because we're too busy, too lazy, too
know.
whatever. But, yeah, we should
Reset button.
reset.
Yeah, I think that's actually really nice to do it somehow in a neutral and fun setting. It does change the conversation a little bit.
Yeah.
It doesn't
Yeah.
feel so.
I am coach. You are coachy. Like, yeah. So how did you guys do mining the crucible for the lessons? And did that come pretty naturally?
I think you just have to nod your head a lot and yeah, listen, right?
There you go. Simple stuff.
Questions. Try to reflect what they said. Yeah, I guess that's good communication. You're supposed to do that day-to-day life, right?
We are, but we don't always. All right, so it sounds like you guys feel pretty comfortable with this. Ready to move on to the next thing? Okay, so the next thing is really fun. This is the one that I said was my favorite of all the meetings. So this is called, it's based on an article that you guys have in your packets called From Purpose to Impact, which is an article from Harvard Business Review by an author, Nick Craig. Really quick read, easy, fun read. And it talks about how we all have a purpose statement, and that when we connect our purpose statement with our actions, we can be our most impactful. And so drawing from that, this exercise, what it does is it helps you think about all the pieces of like what you love to do and how that has everything to do with what you love to do when you were a little kid, what really is like you at your best, and it boils down to a one-liner, which is, I'm a person who loves X, Y, and Z, and I'm at my best when I'm doing A, B, and C. And the idea is that if this one-liner is done authentically, and if it draws from those best pieces of you, it can be the rule of thumb that you use for any opportunity, any experience, any decision down the line. So, you know, if, for example, you open up your inbox today and it's like, oh, Dr. Silverman, we would love to invite you to be a part of this committee. And you think to yourself, do I want to do this or not? This is a big commitment. You theoretically could use your rule of thumb, and if it fits with your one-liner, you're done. It doesn't matter how much time it will take. It will be totally worth it. If it does not, it doesn't necessarily mean it's a no, but what it means is you better have a damn good reason for doing it, because otherwise you're just going to think all the time, I don't want to be here, this isn't what I want to be doing, this isn't what I should be doing. And so maybe it pays you a ton of money that allows you to do something that you love, in which case you go every time being like, I'm doing this for this vacation, I'm doing this for this vacation. Maybe it connects you with someone really important that will then allow you to do something that you really want to do. And so you can go in with that frame of mind. Or maybe it's the gateway to a different opportunity. But regardless, if it doesn't fit and there's not a good reason, it should probably be a no. This is so incredibly important for them to think about now as they're thinking about starting fellowship, finding new projects, new mentors, new pathways. For many people, I hear all the time when I do interviews with fellows is, no one seems to get me. And so I feel like everyone's just forcing me to do whatever path they took, and it doesn't feel like it should be my path. Often for people who don't want to be like that physician scientist, that finding their weird path can be very hard. But if they really know your purpose statement, if you really know what that rule of thumb is for you, it's not hard to convince anybody about why you should be doing something, because it just emanates from who you are. And so the exercise really boils down to an interview, and you put it through your listening and reflecting and them listening to what they're hearing themselves saying, you have all the pieces, all the building blocks for the statement that you need. And so the idea is that it's really thinking about like what really is the reason why you are here, why do you exist, the reason why you do what you do, and thinking about like really what I love is from this one is what is the why behind everything that you do? What is really drawing you? What's compelling you down the path? And that your passions play into this because it gives you that excitement, that enthusiasm for why you're doing these things. It's often from your passions that you find your purpose. And when you can connect those two things, then that's really so powerful. And so when you think about what gets you out of bed in the morning, what gets you excited, whether it's making the donuts, and if you guys remember these commercials, I mean, this guy would drag himself out of bed every morning, 3 a.m., and he knew exactly why he was making those donuts, so that everybody else could go to work with their coffee, with food in their stomach, and that got him out of bed each morning. You know, when you think about, when they write about this, they talk about, you know, a person on an assembly line making car seats. It might seem like a simple job without really a true calling. But if that person putting in that screw is saying, every time I do this, another child is safe, that becomes a true purpose and a true calling. And so we're in a field where our passion and our purpose can find each other, but if we don't think about what is really motivating our choices, we often can make not necessarily bad choices, but maybe not the best ones for us, the ones that really help us to shine. And so the idea is when we go through our chapters and think about our stories and our lessons that we've learned, and we can really articulate those and think about that, creating a place where we are doing who we are and who we are is what we're doing. And that we really put that all together authentically. But we're terrible at this. If I was like, what is your purpose? You'd look at me like I'm asking you to tell me your Crucible story. You know, it's like, it's not easy to do. And so these questions are really geared to walk you through it so that you can feel more comfortable with it. And so the idea is that it should, your purpose statement, and we walk it through with the XYZ, ABC part, but it should be concise. It should be personal and should really be unique to you. It should be language you would hear yourself saying. It should really call you to action. It should be, you know, something that energizes you, makes you feel emboldened, helps you to take that step forward. And what I love is it's not who you think you should be, but who you can't help being, and that it really calls you to action. And when you can find this, it's really pretty cool. And that's actually with this statement, almost everybody says, wow, this is really cool after they do this. And it's not as hard as you would think. It's like a pretty simple interview where you ask a couple questions, you figure out what are the themes that keep coming up. You can toss out stuff, they can toss out stuff, and together you put together this purpose statement. So it's pretty simple. Do you guys want to give it a try? Or any questions about this before we dive into it?
I'm skipping ahead, but it seems that the difference between this and reality is what's causing so much angst in medicine these days.
Yes. Yes, absolutely.
I mean, I don't know a single physician who said, I want to stare at a screen and click 4,000 times every day. Or I
Yes.
don't know a single scientist who said, I want to submit 8 300-page grant applications before I get funding to do the project I want to do.
Absolutely. And I think to your point is that if you can find the purpose and the meaning behind these things, so it allows you, it's not like swallow this pill and it will all feel better, but it allows you to put things into context. So I'll give you a great example. So I was with a patient who's like really sick, she's got a brain tumor, it's not good. And quite honestly, at this point, I'm not doing a lot like of the active management of her. You know, I see her every few weeks now, but I'm not actually making any decisions. You know, it's all up to her oncologist at this point. And so I'm in Epic, I'm like clicking everything, you know, doing all the, so that it becomes the billable visit that it is. And I just looked at her and I was like, this isn't what I want to be doing with this patient right now. And so I just like actually physically pushed my chair away from the computer and I was like, this feels really transactional. I was like, how can I help? I was like, this just doesn't feel good. This can't feel good for you. And she was like, I know I'm dying, and I need to figure out how I can, when will I know when I can't live alone anymore? Because she's not married, she has a sister, but they don't know where she's gonna live when she can't be alone. And she's like, how am I gonna know how to do that, and how can I start planning for it? And I was like, all right, let's do this. And it gave me an out, because a lot of mine involves connecting with people. And so I was like, how can I use connecting right now to like really feel good about this? And so I still do the clicks, I still do all that stuff, but it gave me an outlet within that space. And so perhaps that grant person is thinking to themselves, if I can do this, I can get my stuff out there, I can be known, I can help people, whatever it may be. If they can hold on to that, it will still make those 300 applications as painful as they are, but it will hopefully feel different throughout that process. Or they may identify another thing that really contributes to who they are, that can be an outlet during those times. But you're right, that is exactly why I think so many of us are struggling right now, is because we don't have these parts of our life. But many of us may not have it because we don't even know what it is. And so teaching them what it is at this early stage may be really helpful.
So what do you do in your wellness or your new role? I mean, how do you?
A lot of it is asking people what matters to you.
Okay.
It's basically like the question I say most often now, is what really matters to you. And you realize there's people who have no freaking idea, or need a lot of reflecting and listening and reflecting to be able to tell you what it is. And then thinking like, what do I do with that? And like bucketing into themes, and then going to leadership and saying, this is what matters to people. Here's the pieces we can move, here's the pieces we can't. Here's what we can do about the pieces we can't. And so that's a lot, honestly, that's like so much of it. So far, I've only been doing it for a week. It just started this week. But that's what most of my days have been so far, which is fun. All right, so I'm gonna have you guys flip. There's to make the interview part easy, you'll see there's a single piece of paper that has lots of questions and spaces. This is the interview. So what you guys are going to do is just interview each other. And really the main tricks on this are some of your reflections. So, you know, if they say, oh, I love to play outside when I was little. First, what you want to do is really ask them, like, what is it about that you love to do so much? And really try to distill from it, what is it that you love to do? Like I loved reading when I was little, but I really loved reading series books because I got like so connected to the characters. And so it was really about like finding out more about them. And so like what is it that you really loved, and really try to pull that out. And then offer up reflections along the way about what you keep hearing. Wow, we keep hearing connecting. Wow, we keep hearing the importance of this. Like keep saying, you know, if you hear something, call it out. You're not like stealing their thunder when they get to the end. It helps to hear the words. They'll often be like, oh, wow, I never realized that before. So what did you love to do when you were a little kid? What did you love to do when you were a teenager, your high school years? Thinking about your time now, what do you love to do? Question number 4 can be a tricky one for people to answer. So at some point in your life, what did a mentor or a teacher or a role model say to you that was the first time you had ever really heard it? So it could be something you know to be true about yourself now, but it kind of caught you by surprise the first time you heard it. Or what is the positive thing everybody always says about you? Thinking about your personal life, what do you love to do? And then what themes keep coming up? Is anything missing from that? Is anything that you want to correct? And then you basically plug it in and say, I'm a person who loves, and I'm at my best when I am. And so it usually takes about 8 minutes each. So what we'll do, which is actually exactly how much time we have left. So I'm going to set it for 7 minutes each to see how we're doing. I'll check in with you after 7 minutes. And then that will give us a minute or two for debrief at the end without keeping you guys late. How does that sound?
Should we take notes?
Yeah, so this one I totally take notes.
Other person or ourselves?
As the coach, I take notes.
So I'll take notes when she's done.
Yeah, and so
And I'll hand it to her.
yeah, so when you're the person being interviewed, when you're the coachee, you should just be like, this is a great one to do, like not in your office. Like you should just be like loose, like free association, like whatever comes to mind. And usually what I tell people is, I'm just gonna do this really fun interview. Don't overthink it. Just say whatever comes to mind. And at the end, we'll put all the pieces together. So I take notes as the coach.
Okay.
Yeah.
So Sounds like, Carrie, this purpose statement doesn't have to be like when I'm with patients, or it doesn't
No.
have to be professional, because we're going to translate it.
Exactly, and it actually should be general enough that you can relate it to anything, but specific so that it has meaning to you.